Hi there, welcome back to 52 Weeks of Vlogging. It is Sunday, August 11th, and there's been some really big stuff going down around blurred lines and YouTube videos where people just pick up strangers from behind and run down the street with them, and just general men treating women stuff. And I want to talk about that, but first I have to tell you a story about buying toilet paper. Okay, so one day we ran out of toilet paper. This was a few years ago, so off I go to the store to get some, and I don't own a car, so I'm walking, and this white van drives by, and it kind of slows down, and one of the guys in the van leans out and goes, "I love your hair." This kind of thing happens all the time because I have lots of hair. I have the kind of hair that doesn't really escape notice. I have the kind of hair where I don't need a business card. I just tell people, remember me? I was the lady with the hair. It's long and it's big and curly and it goes way down past my butt, and it's like basically mermaid hair, and it's my hair. It's always been like that. I don't, whatever, it's hair. So anyway, I don't mind getting compliments on my hair, so I turn and I say thanks, and they drive on and I walk on, and about like four and a half blocks later, the van comes back and the guy pulls across the sidewalk and into the parking lot of an apartment building that's there. By this time, I'm only like half a block away from the grocery store. So the other guy who was in the van with him isn't there, and he leans out the window and says, "I just had to come back for a second look." This was creepy. Compliments are one thing. Following someone 4.5 blocks slowly in your van is something else. And while he's telling me he likes my hair, and then asking if I'm married, and then telling me he thinks I'd make a sweet little wife, which is just gross. Like, who talks to people that way? Don't talk to people that way. I'm thinking about how I can stay far enough away from his van that he can't grab me and pull me into it, whilst still getting past the van and into the grocery store, where if he's still following me, I can get a manager or somebody to help, and if he isn't following me, I can hide. He followed me to the grocery store and then drove down the side street and stayed there for a while, so I went for the hide in the grocery store option. And when I finally came out half an hour later with toilet paper in hand, I checked for his van. He wasn't there. I walked the busy way home, so he couldn't drive slowly and follow me because, like, traffic. And the whole thing was very uncomfortable and a little bit frightening. And I think that culturally speaking, we kind of have this weird thing going on where we say women's bodies are their own and everybody's body is their own, and nobody should do things to people that's inappropriate, and we have to be respectful and blah blah blah. But then we also say stuff like boys will be boys, and oh, poor guys who raped that girl, their future careers are ruined forever, poor things. And oh, well, she was asking for it, she shouldn't have been wearing that top or short skirt or hair down past her ass or whatever. And those things don't go together. It should be noted that at some point in this video I'm going to talk about sex, and I'm going to use some terms that you may not have heard of. So if you're not good with that, then go away. Okay, so I want to talk about the song Blurred Lines before I go any further on that topic. Blurred Lines is a song by Robin Thicke. It's really big on the radio right now. You're basically living under a rock if you haven't heard it. And it goes something like this. And my feeling on that song is that I don't really have a problem with the words in the song. And I know a bunch of you are going to get mad at me and start jumping up and down at your computers and screaming and maybe throwing me against the wall, so just let me explain. When I was 17, I went to a seminar hosted by a friend of mine who was also 17, in which she talked about sex. She talked about alternative forms of having sex. She talked about things like S&M, and she talked about role play and safe words and stuff like that. I was 17 and I had basically been living under a rock, so I had no idea that any of these things even existed. Maybe I had like a hint of an idea. No, I'd actually had no idea. And the wonderful thing about this seminar was that I felt enlightened, but I also did not feel pressured. I knew what my options were, and I didn't feel like I had to try any of those options if I didn't want to. But if I did want to, I knew how to do it, and I knew how to do it safely, and I knew how to do it responsibly and respectfully, and in a way that would respect my body and everyone else's body, and everything would be okay. And I think that's the part that's missing from our cultural conversation right now, and probably from our cultural conversation when I was 17, because like I said, I was either living under a rock or just like she was just extraordinarily more enlightened in those areas. Because the thing is, we have songs like Blurred Lines that say the things that they say, and we have mannequins in shop windows standing there in the summertime with their short buttons undone, and we have thongs that girls can buy in Victoria's Secret that say things like party girl and love me on the crotch. And whether a girl is saying yes or no, the subliminal message of having words like love me written on your crotch is pretty powerful. And I think all of that is just confusing for teenage boys and teenage girls. Because on one hand, we're telling them respect your body, only do things if you feel comfortable. And then on the other hand, we're basically telling them that they should just be teenage sex machines and what the F. I think seminars like the one my friend hosted are really important, and I think they add a level to the conversation that says things like, yeah, okay, role play's a thing, but it's not a first date thing. It's an established relationship kind of thing, and it's an agreed upon thing where you sit down and you have this conversation, and it's not like in the movies where everything just happens spontaneously, and if it isn't spontaneous, it's uncomfortable and weird. Not having the conversation is uncomfortable and weird. The people getting up in arms about Blurred Lines and saying that it encourages rape are only half right, because the song itself doesn't encourage rape. Problem is that we're not talking to our kids about the words in the song and helping them understand how the song can apply to life in a way that isn't rape. We're not talking to our teenagers about things like role play and how, yes, you can agree that no means yes, but you have to agree it ahead of time, and then you pick a safe word that means no, like pinky swear. And then there are other simple things that we should be doing with our kids when they're even younger, like instead of telling them, go hug Johnny, you just made him cry, how about telling them, go ask Johnny if he would like a hug because you just made him cry. Simple changes where we teach our children to respect other people's bodies and always ask permission and all of those things. These are important things and we're not doing them. I put a link in the description that I think gives some really helpful advice in how to teach children from a very young age about respecting other people and consent and all of those kinds of things. I encourage your feedback and comments. I think this is an important discussion that we should have, and I would love to have it with you, so I will see you there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.